about to do a special talk about Bitcoin, USDT.D, and the market. As we are in April 4th, 2026, we can see some very interesting things that are happening with the next part of the crypto market crash. As you guys know, for my crypto Christian conference, a mini conference I held, not too long ago, I think it was back in January, I described and explained the market crash right at the top of the market, why prices should have been reversing in October. As you guys know from my public videos on YouTube, that I told everybody that I was exiting the market right at the top of the market near October, and why I was telling people, hey, we're about to have a very large drop in the market. And we did have a very large drop in the market, and weaknesses were entering all over that place in October and November was swift to follow. All that is publicly archived, and why I tell people those things. Now, I am giving you guys a very special look at Bitcoin again, because what I believe is that the next part of the crypto market crash is very close. And I believe that Bitcoin's going to be getting closer to $47,000 in its next rung. Okay, I believe that's going to be very on the board. Some of the other things and areas that are going to be on the board after 40,000 are somewhere around, after 47,000 are going to be closer to the 40s. I have a swing target closer to 36. And then I have a very special chart and a special number with numbers all the way down to $16,000 Bitcoin. It's approximately about 16,000, and it's right about this area. So it's somewhere, I'm just going to put 16K Bitcoin. And I have some special charts that are all discussing the dangers and the warnings on why this is. And you guys need to understand, now that does not mean I'm shorting all the way down to 16. It means that we need to watch the structures and read. If I was shorting right now, I'd probably want to take some profit at 47,000. Okay, that's probably what I want to be doing, or 50,000 just to be conservative. If I'm losing the structures below 47,000 before my target, I'm going to be actually looking closer maybe to the high side of 38, 40, and then I'll be looking for a nice bounce for maybe some time in season, and then I'll use those areas to read again. Maybe price will be on the underside of these structures and I can trade that down. At any case, I'm going to be using these to exit those areas at appropriate times, exit my shorts. Another structure I see again, if we get below 36,000 in some of these areas, we're going to be going down to here at 16,000. I have a very special map on my board. Oops. Okay. I have a very special map on my board on why I actually believe that Bitcoin will be much lower. And that number will trigger if, and only if, in my opinion, we do not hit a different number. And that number is closer to 360 to 397 Bitcoin. So if I don't hit 360 to 397 Bitcoin, I'm actually going to be looking for the market to hit all the way down to 16,000. A lot of that has to do with the highest time frames. When I stand as an eagle on top of the highest mountain of the crypto world, I can actually see something very simple that's taking place. Number one, the money is going away. We're going up without the new money. Okay? If we keep going higher and there's no more players, eventually what's going to happen is price is going to respond to its own structure. And it is. You can see, I'm not explaining this chart really so much because this chart is hidden from you guys, but I can see price responding to its own structure within its oscillation. So within its own oscillation, price is responding and doing those kinds of things. And that gives me a very big clue about what's happening next. It should be slowing down. If the money is going away, and I can see the money draining up as we're going, the price should be due for a reversal. And it should be a weak bounce. However, proportionately, if the bottom is all the way down at near 70 cents, $2, $6, current price of Bitcoin is 68,000, that weak bounce is going to be quite significant for a lot of people. Do you understand? A weak bounce is due, and the weak bounce is due at approximately $16,000 in the longer sense, in the longer term. But when this happens, that's the weak bounce compared to this oscillation. That seems like a very big bounce if you're trading Bitcoin at 100 grand or 68 grand. But that's still the weak bounce. Then we actually need to start looking for what's going to happen in the game. I'm going to be looking for a bounce closer to $16,000 when that happens. You need to remember, this is a 3-month chart. Each one of these bars is 3 months worth of time. So this is a long time into the future. I'm predicting very large numbers. Again, this number is activated only if we don't hit $360,000. If we hit $360,000, I'm not going to be looking at 16,000 anytime soon. Okay, based on my current projections, we are responding to its own oscillation in a negative way rather than a positive way. So even though it's an uptrend, I'm actually hitting the parts that I'm supposed to hit and rejecting at those parts as if those parts are roofs. Both of these one and this one are acting like roofs for me, and I call those end cuts. Okay, and I have special sessions. Now I'm doing some special classes on end cuts on 3 times a month. And you guys can sign up for that dive tier if you want to on my Patreon website. If you guys want to know more about that, I discuss that. But the thing is, I think that this is going to be happening sooner than later. Okay, even though the $16,000 number, I don't expect to hit that number really quick. I do think what's going to happen is that we're going to be hitting 16,000 sometime in the future. Okay. Now, I need you guys to understand, a lot of the market is looking very bearish, in my opinion. I've been looking at a lot of cryptos. A lot of cryptos are moving into negative positions. There's very few cryptos that I actually believe are sitting pretty right now. Okay, very few cryptos that are actually sitting pretty. One of the cryptos that I'm looking at, one of the next things I'm looking at for Bitcoin is the EVs. EVs are the event line. It's the last structure that's supposed to happen before or when you experience a weakness. So for example, if I experience this weakness under here and price starts building underneath this red line, I'm supposed to hit the white line. We hit the white line exactly where we're supposed to hit it. EV was hit in approximately January 2023. And that was part of the slowing down. So I'm not actually looking for price to really give me a good fight at $25,000 if we lose our $40,000 support. Okay. So if I'm losing 40,000, which is the 38 on the other chart, if I'm losing that, I'm actually going to be looking to probably make a mad dash to 16. Okay, because event line 25 was supposed to be hit. Oh, sorry, hold on. Yeah, it was the blue line. It was the blue line. I was supposed to hit the blue line. Yep. The blue line was hit the same time where I drew the origin for the white one. So I did get a little confused. But this is supposed to be hit, and it's hit now. Okay, it's hit now. I don't think we are going to, I don't really think it's going to save us this time around. I think this blue line is going to be the one that's broken, and then 25 will be the one that I'm going to be looking for a bounce. Okay, so 25 can give us a bounce. Maybe we're going to bounce between 25.40, 25.40, somewhere around there. Again, this is all if those trigger, and then a move to 16,000. So that's still in the future. Remember, these are 3-month charts, so this is very long. So to recap, when I move below the red line, I'm supposed to be hitting the blue line. We're there now. The problem is I don't think this is going to be the support that's going to drive price up. But that's where you're supposed to go first. And then we're going to read it. If I lose that support, it's a big tell. You're slowing down. The next event line that's supposed to be hit should be the 25,000. So even though there's this long parabolic right around 40,000, I actually think the lower number may be hit. Now, this could be quick. It could be a spike. We can go to 40, spike down, and people will call that a flash crash all the way down to 25. That's a very likely. But based on the structure, that's some of the things that's supposed to happen. And I wrote this, if the EV is lost at 40 for parabolic, the $40,000 is next, and event line $25,000 area. Okay, so if the event line is lost, the parabolic 40,000, and then next is the 25. So 40, 25. We're gonna use all these paces to read what's happening. But one of the easy things we can read is that the volume is drying up. A lot of the market looks like it's due for some nice pullbacks, especially some of them that have some selling in the background at some of these areas with control and absorption. So if I look at Ethereum, for example, you can see the professional selling enter on the up move. But when we're coming up, there's no more players, yet we moved into a weakness. So this is not good because we're here, and that means that the players who played were so much that they were able to stop the market and start reversing the market. That means that the sellers here are in control of Ethereum. Ethereum generally needs to come down. Its support right now, 14.17 is probably where I'm going to be looking to get to Ethereum. And that was in March 22nd when I took this picture. Okay. Another chart that has let me know that the market is bearish is the total 3. You guys know in the mini crypto conference, I included a PDF, and it's available on our website. You guys, you just look in the description. There was a link in almost all my dive videos to that mini conference. There's a link to a PDF that has a discussion about the 5 counselors, what I call the 5 counselors. And that's going to be total 3, USDT.D, Bitcoin, and the other is the market as a whole. Okay, so when I'm looking at a lot of crypto and you start seeing the same story and the same story and the same story and the same structures and the same structures and the same, and what I mean by stories in the volume spread analysis, which reveals what's really happening behind the scenes. When you start seeing the same story, you start getting a picture of what is happening. If I could sit you down in a room and have these 5 counselors come up, each declare their case. You may not be convinced by one. You may not be convinced of the market direction by looking at Bitcoin or USDT.D, even if they have a very good track record of whatever happens in Bitcoin happens in the market. Whatever happens in USDT.D, when it goes up, the market comes down. It does the opposite. So when you start looking at all of these things as a whole, you start understanding, hey, what's happening with the crypto market? And what I can see is that the crypto market is experiencing weakness. And we're due to come down for a lot of cryptos. I'm looking for total 3 to get to 1.4, 1.32 approximately. Okay, I'm looking for 1.4, 1.32 for the total market. And that's going to be a big drop. You can see approximately what type of drop it should be. And then we're going to have some fight. But that means I don't believe this crash is done. Some people kept calling it a flash crash. I didn't call it a flash crash. I believe that there's going to be a big battle here, and this may last quite a bit. And that's not what a lot of people want to hear. But I'm not here to tickle you guys' ears. I'm here to tell you guys what I see in the market. In addition to all of these things, I'm looking at Bitcoin in different ways. And for Bitcoin, I have some of my lines that are indicating what really isn't happening. So 40,000, 38, the other chart, 16 and 25 is where I'm paying attention to. So let's go now back to some of these oscillations and talk about them in a more proper manner. Here is a look at Bitcoin longer term. So here's a 1 month chart. And you can see price playing back and forth between this oscillation in yellow. So when we see the price moving up and down, it's in this yellow chart, and we're coming up. Now we are not hitting the tops. We're coming back down. We want to make sure we mark on the chart where that is. And right now it's 38,000, but it's going to be approximately about 40,000 on average. Okay, so we'll just raise it up to about 40 so you can see. And there is that swing target support that's right about 36. So somewhere around 40,000 is a nice juicy spot for a good fight to happen. Okay, and current price is 67,000. The other oscillation that I'm looking at again is a straight one, and this is going to be our key angle back here, up here in orange. And then if we connect that to the lowest energy center, you can see that I already got. If I place that here, I got a verification here, and I got a verification here. This lets me know that I'm doing it right. It lets me know my oscillation is important. Do you think I should pay attention to that line? You bet I should pay attention to that line. We measured it. We started. Now we're going to finish it. So as we look at that area, you can see that prices should be responding there. And give or take a margin of error, you can see that we basically responded there in February of this year. Price gave us a nice little bounce. Okay, so if I'm getting below, that number is going to be what I call a dynamic positive number. And that means because the angle is going up, the price, here's 43, 45, 48, 53, 57, 62, 67. That number goes up every month. Okay, that number goes up every time there's another bar, ever so slightly, and sometimes very big. Okay, so right now, if we were to hit that line today, this month, the number is actually probably exactly 62,548, give or take, or you're getting in the ballpark. You want to get as close as you can, provided the angle is right. Now, the angle may have a margin of error, but for the most part, we're in the general ballpark. So somewhere down here is where we're actually looking for the next local bounce. Again, this doesn't mean we're going straight down, but if I were to break down those segments into smaller and smaller segments, as I just showed you the larger stories, now I'm going to show you some of these smaller stories. And right now, if price were to go down, it's 62,548, but if it's next month, the number comes up to 64,115. So we just went up another a few thousand dollars. So we went from 62 to 64. From 62, 64, we just went up about $2,000. And you can calculate that just by moving your price marker up the angle. And I don't care the angle. The angle's skewed as long as it's locked in place. We care primarily about, you don't even care about the price, because we can always move up these to calculate whatever the month is. I'm concerned about where the angle is at. Because if I know where the angle's at, I can understand where those supports and resistance should be coming in, and where I can start reading. Okay, that's not to buy at every support or resistance. It's to read at those areas to understand what's really happening. So right now, that is important. All right, there's two other things that we're going to talk about that's important. Number one is going to be the key angle that's involved here, plus our wick match. So it's somewhere about this angle here, and I call this an EV, event line, because once I experienced my first big weaknesses, which was here in these areas, once I experienced that, I had to calculate for the last event that took place. That event that took place was letting me know this was ready to go down, but I calculate for the last big event that took place. It was here. This was my event line. Okay, EV. I duplicate at the lowest energy center in the area. It's here. And then I bring it out. This is where I'm supposed to find a support. And I did. Until the next month. Okay, all it was to show me where the next fight should be. It should be right here. We stop exactly there, but it was not enough to bring me up. So that let me know a big important piece of information. Price is not strong. Bitcoin is weak. And that was letting me know for that month what was happening. And that month just happened to be December. Now, we already knew we were looking to come down from October. So this is going to be a big important piece of information as well. So December saying, yep, you are weak. So if I didn't believe it in October, I should believe it in December. So now December comes along, and what's supposed to happen? The market's supposed to fall after this. And what does it do? The market falls. Now, where is it? Where are we likely to fall again? We're likely to fall to this core support here in blue. So we're going to talk about that for just a moment. I'm just recapping some of this story so you guys understand what's happening in the crypto world. Because even if you don't care about Bitcoin, you need to understand what happens in Bitcoin happens in the market. So there's this large support that's approximately here. And there's our wick match in this color here, in this dashed. That's our wick match. And you can see us responding to there. And then we were bouncing above there for just a little bit, very weak bounces. But now we lost that support again. And we are trading underneath that as of the month of February. So we had this big down move. We can delete that. Our JSON target was hit somewhere out here, and that's going to be all done now. We can bring that back out of the game. We can delete that since we already hit all those targets. And you can understand that we also did a different target called our target system. And we came back up to hit the underside of that target and came down. We identify this as professional selling that was taking place in those areas. So we have an up move that closes near the low. And generally at this point, we want to look for high volume. The higher, the better on those down moves. And it's a very strong volume bar, but it's in the wrong spot. One of the other things we can do as we're going below there, if we're looking for another target, we can DP the oscillation, which is to duplicate project the oscillation from this area, and it gives us a third point down in the sky, which in this case is the basement. It's really low down here, and prices should find support, and the number is approximately 66, 64, 66, and 67, and that's where price is right now. That's going to be our next big support. And guess what happened? When we called the last crash, we fell to those areas and have found support. My job is to read what is happening now that we are these supports. What's the likelihood that we're going to continue to fall and the support is not going to be enough to get us into the sky again? The odds are pretty good. Okay, the odds are pretty good. We're seeing the prices build below the wick match or build below the core, and the EV is failing. So let's now go to before we do that, we're gonna examine that even smaller, but let's go down just a little bit further so you guys can see this. One more thing. Let's draw the larger event line, and I'll borrow this angle. And I'll make this really big just for the purpose of this demonstration. So I'm going to be calculating the biggest event. So once I start losing these larger supports, I'm going to be looking for the bigger event to come up and help save price from a free fall. But right now, that number is very low. Okay, it's very low for Bitcoin. So if things get really bad, here's what. If it was somewhere in the next year, December 26th, we're still looking around maybe 28,000, and if it was today, it'd be like 26,855. So if it was a crazy flash of a crazy quick drop in prices, we'd be looking very negative at some of these zones. Very negative. Okay, all vortex where a lot of this is meeting together in June 15th of this year. So I'm looking for some kind of something to happen approximately in June 15th. If price continues, we're going to move into health. But if price moved up, we'd move into that health. But if it continues, it's going to fade into weakness by default. So if all we did was just maintain, we're going to start getting on the underside of the largest important lines, which is that orange one. And that's very closer. You only can fit so many candles in here before it's over. Okay, current day, again, today is April 4th. Okay, now I need you to pay attention to this last part. So I'm going to write this down, read what I wrote previously on March 16th, and then we're going to zoom in. This crypto showed signs of weakness by building and rounding underneath the old sky blue core key angle. This is not the end of the world, but it was showing support and above and below historically. That's that sky color blue angle there, okay? Price has been moving up after hitting its support to 60K. We can see that is an end cut support. But the main support is really the lower orange angle. The angle is currently 62,393 dynamic positive average. That means now it's 64 for next month. This means that the number will rise to 66,000 in June of 2026. I am not concerned so much as the price as the position of the line on the map where that angle is at. If this support is lost, then price is in a very bad spot. I would expect 47 to 49,000 Bitcoin, and even upon recovery, this may struggle for some time when it hits 50,000 areas, there's no large accumulation. So if we hit $40,000 and I don't see high volume on the down bars, down moves there, and I don't see no more professional buying coming in, that's a very negative thing. I'm going to be looking even lower. That's what that means. If and when it reaches that spot, okay, we don't have no large accumulation, okay, then it may struggle. When it hits $50,000 area, there's no large accumulation. I do expect stopping volume at 50,000. I think there's a lot of orders that are going to be hit there. We got a target system here, so I'm looking for prices to have some kind of bounce at 47,000 approximately, is where my number is. A lot of people, what I've been told, is a lot of people have $50,000 as their number. I actually have 47. I think they're right in their structure, their analysis from some of the stuff people have sent me. I was like, yeah, I agree with them. They're in the right ballpark. We've had our $50,000 number for quite some time. And anyone who's saying 50,000, 47, I think they're going to write. I think you're going to see some more stopping volume there. I don't know if we're going to reverse fully. And even then, I'm not going to be fully convinced, because if I bounce up there, but I'm still on the underside or rejecting on the underside of this orange line, I don't care if I'm coming to 70s, even 80s. I'm still looking lower if things, especially if I starting to see professional selling happen on the underside of those. And that's going to look like high volume up bars into local weaknesses. Okay, especially as we get back to our near the 60s and 70s. So I'm going to be watching for that in the future so that you guys can see how the game is unfolding. I do expect stopping volume 50,000, but I also have on my charts 37,000 support, which is all of this cluster right there. I'm not convinced the current move up is actually the reversal. In other words, I still expect down moves to resume in the near to mid future, but still, I do not believe the crash is over and the bottom is in. So a lot of people are saying, yeah, the bottom's in, now it's time to buy crypto. And I'm like, no, be careful, be careful. The signs are not there. I don't see the signs. I just don't see enough to sustain the market. I don't see a lot of buying on a lot of crypto. I see a lot of profit taking. I see a lot of professional selling. I see a lot of dumping. I see a lot of passing on to retail, but I don't see the large accumulation for a lot of cryptos. Shiba Inu, I don't see a lot of big ones. The only Shiba that I've seen one on base, it looked good. I examined that months ago, but the standard Shiba, guys, there's a lot of crypto that is negative. There's no professional interest. It's going up on lack of interest. You can see it in the data. It's like, we don't have to be fooled. Okay, you don't have to be fooled. You can read it, okay, yourself, and you can understand some things. You don't have to just trust the hype or the news or the fundamentals, because remember, these algorithms that actually move the money, they'll target cryptos, stocks, even if the news is positive. If you don't believe me, look into Tom Williams' work. The late Tom Williams, before he died, he was a part of those meetings, those smoke-filled room meetings that I talk to you guys about all the time, where they would meet together and target stocks that had great news. Because that was the retail was buying, and they were doing a distribution campaign. They were passing off all their holders. Or they would target for accumulation, which is to buy in little pieces over time. That's called accumulation. And they would be accumulating, so they control the stock, and they would pick the ones that had the worst news, and they would just buy them. And you guys you guys don't have to fully believe me about this. You can research your own kind of research into the whole GameStop, AMC. What are these companies? We have AMC in Arizona. We have GameStops in Arizona. GameStops are a video game industry for all purposes. It really shouldn't be doing that well as a stock. But what we found was that the big bankers were targeting that for suppression. They were taking out options contracts to the downside. Who cares about a company like that? They're just a little gaming company. The movie theater, what local movie? There's tons of local movie theaters. Why AMC? Okay, why did they do those kinds of maneuvers? And the fans got together for a season. I don't know if they're still doing this, but they did that back in the day, maybe about 2-3 years ago. They all said, let's buy and see what happens. And they all buy, and it was able to rise up the price. And they were targeting something that really, it doesn't really matter the company, it doesn't matter the news, it doesn't matter. You'll understand that it's a game. It's a game. It's a game designed for you to lose. And when you see who's playing the game, who's winning the game, you can position yourself a little bit more better, and you can actually move the pieces on the board by moving it right. Now, it's a very expensive game, so I don't play that way, but I do read what the professionals are doing, and you can see and you can have a better view of what's happening in the game by just reading what the big players are doing. And right now, I see across the board the big players getting out. I see big players dumping. I see professionals selling a lot on the board for a lot of cryptos. And if you guys don't believe me, you guys can show up at our sessions. Again, I'm here on Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and I do videos and sessions and tutorials primarily on Wednesdays, but I've been doing a lot of tutorials on Mondays lately, by the way, too. And you guys have access to all the videos, and type in lessons on our website in the search bar if you guys are a Dive Tier member, and you'll have access to the lessons page. Okay, so now you gotta need to understand these big things can be broken into smaller pieces. Oh, by the way, let me finish reading this because I didn't finish reading. I do expect that stopping volume. I am not convinced this current up move is the reversal. In other words, I still don't expect the down moves to resume in the mid to... I do expect the down moves to resume in the near to mid future. This means I still do not believe the crash is over and the bottom is in. That's my opinion. Furthermore, I do believe the high volume up bar after the weakness has been revealed indicates professional selling. This is large players jumping ship at the best prices. Okay, they already know they're losing. The best you can do is get out at the best prices. So let's now break this up. If I cut that time in half and I go to a 2-week chart, okay, if I go to a 2-week chart, again, I know based on my DAP calculations, there should be a support here. I know based on the data in the past that has happened is the support was exactly as we calculated. So if I said, hey, there's supposed to be a support here, and I see price responding to that, guess what? That means I'm correct. there is a support there. And it should be based on, we do DPs all the time. So that's exactly what should happen. Now, I can actually look what's happening here and understand that this is not the time for me to be going up. If I wanted to go up, why didn't I go up here? Why am I now going up now that the roof is in? There's people who are buying cryptos today and they're like, now is the time, now is the time. And I'm looking at this today and I'm going, wow, this is not the right appropriate time to do that. Okay, now this candle is going to close in about 8 days for this 2-week chart. So we may want to look at a weekly chart. But as it is, this is not, if I close like this, is more of a sign we should be going down. But that's not the only weakness. So that's going to be a weakness that's going to bring us to a more local bottom, which is going to be that orange line. So Bitcoin, again, 67 to 64 may not seem that much, right? That may not seem like that bad. It's when this happens is the next big one. But there is local badness in it. So let's go just a little bit further as we break apart this. Now that we understand the larger game, we can see that up move was on high volume, very high volume, probably one of the highest volumes we've seen apart from the stopping volume that came in here. It was on this past 2 weeks. We confirmed this when we're underneath that 66,000. Well, now this is confirmed, and I can say that we're confirmed. Okay, so we can say selling identified, and we can now say this is confirmed because the structures are broken. Okay, it was primarily broken on the red line, 66. So now we're underneath that 66. We got the close. I'm not convinced again that we're going up. In fact, I believe we're starting to go down again because it's going to look like that professional volume there. Now let's go to a 1-week chart and see if we can just kind of shorten that up. So on a 1-week chart, I can draw that same line and I can further look at and still say, hey, I still have the high volume. It was on the up bar. That's what I wanted. But for the most part, I'm now looking at what price is doing on the underside. Now, this white line really probably shouldn't be drawn on this chart. It needs to go a little bit lower. So I'll hide this kind of for right now, and I'll bring it up in just a moment. Okay, but you can still see now I'm underneath the yellow line, the DP, and that's not good. And this one gives me 1 day and 10 hours left. So when I start seeing price doing things like this, coming down, when I start seeing it doing things like this, coming below the yellow line, when I start seeing it doing things like this, and I'm going to jump all the way down to a daily chart so you guys can see it. Okay, this is where I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to label this daily so you guys can see it. When Bitcoin starts doing all of these things, okay, this is a negative. Make this really big. This was a negative thing. This was a negative thing in yellow, longer term. And this is a negative thing as well. Look. Do you see how I'm on the wrong side? Do you see how I'm still responding very accurately to these blocks or these areas? You're going to be able to tell the game in slow motion. For us, the market's crashes happen in slow motion. Okay? Already right now, on a daily chart, I rounded under. I came into weakness here. That was the weekly charts. Now on the daily chart, I'm rounding under. If I have high volume on that bar from what is this, just this past week, that's also going to be a negative. I haven't looked. Let's take a look now. Let's take a look at the volume on the up bar into that move, into that local weakness. All of this is telling me things are not all okay in Wonderland. Let's look at the volume. There's our up bar on the high volume. There it is, local selling. Okay, this is going to be our more local selling here. I bearish because of these things. If you wanted more confirmation, you can trade below the flat if you wanted to. Okay, we're going to bring up a JSON target. And this is where I believe we're going to be getting to. It's a small one, but I'll just put this on nonetheless. Okay, target is going to be at these coordinates approximately. The high is 62,603. and 61,432. Come. Okay, so I'm putting myself out there. I believe this should be coming down a little bit more, but this is just one small blip and part of a larger story of what's going on. This makes the probability really high. And if I'm wrong, that's wrong. Okay. I can't force the market to do anything. I'm just telling you the probabilities are much higher when we start seeing these things play out. Does everybody understand that? So what we've been looking for, we're seeing. That's why I'm saying the next part of the crash is starting to ramp up. Okay, because we're getting closer and we're getting closer to these things occurring. Okay, so we can see the game for us starting to unfold in slow motion. All right, I think that's all I want to say about that. The next part of this report, I want to tell you about USDT.D. Before I do, does anyone have any questions from our Zoom audience? You guys are watching the fly filming. Do we have any questions about Bitcoin? I can look at that on Monday, Tommy. I can look at XDC on Monday. But anyone have questions about Bitcoin? The bullish price 77. If we start building above 77, you got to fight. And then we can start calculating from there. You'd probably want to do target system from top to bottom. If you get that breakout, and you'd be looking in those areas. That's when that would activate. And that's when price is going to get us out of this just spawned right now. And even then, I'm not fully convinced that it's going to be a bull market. But we'd want to then interpret some of this stopping volume as health because we never got below there. Okay. So if that happens, okay, I don't. I'm in this point. I'm not in the camp that's the buying. I really don't believe. I think it's just stopping volume. But if it was, then you want to interpret that as buying, and then you're going to start looking to go higher. Okay. If you get a bounce on that orange line, especially if you get the bounce into the health, and just say we do something like this. Okay, we hit the orange line, and then we come back into health. I am going to target system that one out from whatever that bottom is, and we'll try to calculate where we're looking to go next. And let me now zoom out one more time to that orange line, just to remember what it is. No, I won't be convinced because I've already done the other end cut map. I've already done that other map I showed you guys at the beginning, where I am not convinced because I've seen price already respond to the oscillation twice. So I'm really in the camp where these are acting like roofs and they need to be acting like roofs. And I'm not really going to be convinced that we're going up, at least for some time. So I would need to really re-examine and say, what did I miss? But if we do start going up in those seasons, I just don't see it I just don't see it on the board at the moment. I really don't. I only see price doing what it's supposed to do. So target system is only going to show you where we've been. So if you're breaking out to the downside, target system won't help you from this leg because we've never been this low, at least here. If you measure from back here, we've already done that, and those are the targets, 50 to 47. So if you're going higher, you can. And I'll do it quickly for you. There's two highs, so we'll come to that one. You'd probably be looking at 81,000. You'd be looking at 100,000. You'd probably be looking at the delta 89. So 80,000 probably the next stop along the way if you are bullish. Okay, if you're bullish, the market. Okay. A lot of reasons on why I am not. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right, you guys will know sooner than later. You're knowing where to look. It's that orange line. You guys can stop in from periodic. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and you're like, man, how do I know when it's going to change? I'll be watching it. Okay, God willing, I'm still here. Okay. I got a baby due in about a week or so, but you guys can join our website, patreon.com/jsong_7. Sign up. It's $18 for the full month. You'll get invited and recorded to those sessions. and you guys can join. You can also, in the link of the description, you can join our JSON community and get invited to the free All Patreon Dive once a month. Where does the orange line come from is the question. Where does the orange line come from? If you eat a lot of oranges, I'm just kidding. I will show you. Oop, not that one. There we go. Let's go to a monthly chart. Okay, if I'm drawing this as the key angle, that's probably the best way you can draw it. This is going to keep you accurate. I'll put this on the left side. Remember, price can be read forward or backwards. So even if you're drawing the phantom as the key angle, they are the same exact angle. So you're going to be fine. But for the sake of argument, the top line is really the key angle, but because this one you can draw with more accuracy, and you can just see that these angles are verified. So you basically draw that one as your key, and your phantom can be on top. If you place it on the highest energy center in the area, it's going to give you your verification. Okay, so that's how you can get the orange line. It's a straight line. Sorry, straight line. You're looking to get underneath there. All right. Any other questions? The vortex. Oh, you got a pulse. Okay. The vortex for the hitting the DP is May 1st, 2026. June 2026 of this year. Okay. Anyone else? Questions going once. I'm going to now jump in. Before we close, I'm going to be going to USDT.D, the next part of this session. Okay. And then I'll probably look at the total one more time. Okay, just to give you guys a good idea of what's really happening. Okay, so we covered a lot of important information on these charts. USDT.D is a chart that acts inverse. When it goes up, the markets come down. We knew a lot about when the market was supposed to start crashing back in October because of USDT.D. In my opinion, over the years, just from my observations, Bitcoin is slow. It's great when you reread it because I can time USDT.D even better. But for the most part, all the moves are preceded by USDT.D. I'll say that again. For the most part, all the moves in Bitcoin are actually preceded by USDT.D. This means this moves first, and then the markets generally respond. Take a look carefully. So we can see some of the things that are supposed to be happening. One of the things that's supposed to be happening is we're oscillating here approximately at this angle. This is somewhere about right here. Okay. And when we are duplicating the distance between this oscillation and the bottom, we tack it in place, we can braze it up in alignment, approximately in alignment, and we're going to do that one more time today. So let me just do that live to make sure that all these numbers have not got moved over the many months that we've done this. And I'm going to do this live. Okay. So I'm going to take that angle, and I'm going to bring this down, straight down. We're going to line it up to the lowest energy center in the area. It's here. Okay. Then we're going to take the line, measure it, and with this one we'll just bring straight down, and we're going to bring it straight up. Move that up. And then we just make sure they're aligned again. Did I do that right? With parabolics, you do have to move them straight down and up. Good. All right. Okay, and they're about lined up. Good job. All right. Now, it's going to let me know approximately where we should expect that resistance and what's actually happening. So according to this, on this 2-week chart, there should be resistance approximately here. And that was exactly what happened. It's like a bit what Bitcoin happened. We can see approximately a point of battle. It was here. We tried to come up and couldn't do it all in 1 month. And this is when shorting became a bit of a danger. And I talked about that at the beginning of the crash in the conference itself, when we touched that circle cluster line. That's when shorting became a danger. This is a bit of a hit or miss, but for the most part, we're still looking for longer term shorts to start doing this thing. But now we look a little bit closer, we can see that when we're breaking above these areas, we're actually looking for the continuation of the direction of the move, what's really happening. In addition to all of this, I can see that it approximately appears that price is trying to bounce on these areas and trying to come back up. That's basically what's supposed to happen. Okay, so if I'm breaking through the deep pain. So now I have multi-touch flat, I have circle clusters. There should be some resistance in here. We've known about this. We did circle clusters months ago when we were down here in a session. I haven't done circle clusters in a long time and I'm a little bit rusty, but we are doing some new projections. We can see the ultimate larger, longer term multi-touch flat is all in the same area, and this is how I got that number here. This is one of the ways we got this number. It's also the flat, and that's why I gave it two colors. It's a flat plus the circle cluster gave me that quadrant or that block as an area. So all of that's there. Now we do have the wick mesh as well. It's on the board. So all of this is just available for everybody to see, and you can understand that there should be some slowdown here, and there really was. But what is really happening, it appears to be, is that there's a battle that is taking place between these areas, and that's exactly approximately what should happen. We should be battling up in this crack, and that's actually still a bullish thing, as I've let you guys know. This is the bullish area. When this goes up, your markets come down. Okay, and if this takes a long time, this takes a long time, but you can see the game slowly changing. That's why I tell everybody, for us, the markets crash in slow motion. Almost nothing should, you guys really shouldn't be taking out guard. I let you guys know for months that hey, the market's crashing, the market's crashing, the market's crashing. It's like the Titanic, like it was sinking, but they were still saying, oh, can you send my stuff up to my room? At least according to the legend of the story, it's really happening. They were saying, hey, I'll be back in my room in just a little bit. Keep the fire on, keep it warm. All the while the ship's sinking, and nobody really understands that the ship is sinking. Letting you guys understand that so that you can be one of the first to a lifeboat when it's time. Okay. According to this, I got some projections. I got an NDP up here closer to 989, 982. It's an area I'm looking for. I got an N cut closer to 1007, 1006. So I'm looking in this cluster approximately where we're probably going to be getting to next. It's somewhere in this zone. So I'm looking really there for how far the market's going to crash. And I believe it's going to be more or less approximately the same as it crashed the last time, which is somewhere between here and here. I think we're going to be getting there. Okay, that's just where I believe. And USDT.D is going to be somewhere high when this happens. Okay, so somewhere about the 10s is where I'm looking, 1032 approximately. I do have some other numbers in the sky closer to 12, 66, 13, 14. Probably 12 is going to be a big one for me because I got an NDP projection somewhere also at 12. So USDT.D, as it's going up, you're going to have a greater semblance that the market should be going down. Let's go to a volume, and I'm going to show you something a bit interesting in the volume. And I've talked about this several times in our sessions, but I'm just going to be showing you guys this a little bit publicly. Okay, so when we take a look at the volume and what's really happening right now for the up move, you can see that the volume was rising from this time to last time. And then it also was starting to reject the down moves in the previous down move. So these are three little clues what might actually be happening. Let me see if I can break them down. Okay, of some of the harmony that price is experiencing. So here's some of these down moves. I'm just going to break some of them there. And then I'm going to show you some of these up moves. And especially more recently, let's see if we can just do this here. One of the things I'm concerned about is that the last time we had the down move, from here to here, the volume was basically telling us, I don't want it. This is what is called lack of interest. The market didn't want the down move. And that tells me a big piece of information. It wants the up move. When the up move takes place, I like to confirm the volume generally in its relationship to this up move. Now, this up move I don't believe is over, okay, but generally you want to see some of those. Where's this? It's going to be here. Yeah. Generally we want to see some high. If it continues going higher in its relationship to others, we now have something called harmony. So if I start seeing the up moves getting stronger and stronger, let me show you what I mean. So if we're like here, we're at this height, and then here we're at this height, and here we're at this height, and here we're, if we continue going higher in those areas, that tells us there's a bullish harmony. Okay, the bullish harmony. That means the market wants that direction. Harmony. And if it tells us it doesn't want the other direction, that's another clue. Okay, and like I said, there's times when, many times I've been saying in the past week, if you get invited to the prom, and Chad invites you and he picks you up to go to the prom, it may not be because you're a 10. Okay, it may not be because you're good looking. It may be you're the only girl in town and a sausage fest of men. It could be that you have a small town and there was only 5 girls that was in the town in a school of 100 boys. But you would think you're something until reality hits you. Okay, sometimes a market will go up, not because the market wants that, it's because it doesn't have any other players or options to the other side. And that's the principle of lack of interest. If we only go down because there's no players, or we go up and there's just no players left to play, the market will reverse. But it doesn't mean it's reversing because it really wants to go down. It just means there's no other options. And when that happens, we look for those reversals to eventually reverse themselves and have nice pullbacks. So for example, when we went up way back here in these areas, the spreads are getting smaller. There's no one left to take to the prom. So I'll go with anybody. And so then the market comes down. Okay, when it starts coming down, then it has to find its balance. Okay, more people start attending the school. All right, great. Now I can actually take the pretty girl to the school. I'm sorry if that seems a little bit crude, but lack of interest is not being interested in what's available at that time, but it does not mean it's forever. And that's also why I believe that still Bitcoin will have a chance to do well in the future. When talking about Bitcoin earlier, I showed you a chart of all the money going away. I'm looking for a weak bounce, but that means $16,000 on Bitcoin longer term. Eventually the market will go up, and then we're going to actually see the distribution. Okay, so it's one thing to go up because there's no players to the opposite side. It's one thing to go up because there's interest. In this case, the big summary is that there is interest to the upside. There is bullish harmony. They are interested. Okay, they're interested in that direction. And this is bullish or up direction. Okay, now this means this equals a bearish market. Okay, because remember, when this goes up, your cryptos comes down. This equals, so don't be fooled, bearish market. So right now, we're calculating for 2 different large components. Number one, we're seeing who's playing to the downside. And we can see some playing, we can see saying they don't want this down move. And they don't want this down move. So they don't want these. And they do want that. Does that make sense? So it's not just a weak market. We can actually see that, yes, this should be going up. And you can walk away with that as a very critical piece of wisdom for you. It doesn't want the down move. It wants the up move. 2 things. 2 things. If it's going up and the market is telling you, yeah, guys, we want up move, then all of you guys should be thinking, okay, then this is going up. Okay? It's not just a weak bounce where we're going to be looking for a fight. It's telling you, yeah, I'm starting to want this. And you need to pay attention. Okay? This is a 2-week chart. Each one of these is 2 weeks worth of time. Each one of these bars, 2 weeks worth of time. If this is going up, that means market crash. This is just another clue within one analysis of those 5 counselors. And this counselor is the USDT.D. Now, I've done that presentation quite a bit. If you go up on lack of interest, it does not mean you're fully coming down. And that means that would have been a bull market, right? That would have been a bull market. It means weak bounce. So in the grand scheme of things, this was going up, and I'm going to re-show you the other chart that I showed you so you can see the same thing. I'm not making this stuff up, guys. Okay, if I'm going up and I come into weakness, it's not because they want me down. That would have been a bull market for the crypto world, right? Crypto bull. It's not they picked me to go to prom, not because I was pretty, but because I was the only option. There was no one left to play with. Look. Do you see it now? Do you see it happening? Does this make sense? Price is going up. Market's coming down. But this is supposed to be a weak. This is a crypto bull market. Bull run. But it was telling us it was weak bounce only. And I've done 3 tutorials in the last 2 weeks about this. Weak bounce only. So this means when we go here, it's temporary. We got to be looking to continue going up in the future. And we're going to be looking for the battle to ensue. So we started reading here. We're saying, okay, and now pay attention to what I'm about to say. Because it was at this moment that people are screaming, yeah, time to buy cryptos. And they're buying at the top of the markets, and they're not looking that they're thinking there's someone. And they're only picked to go to the prom because they're the only option. Their mom is making the girl go with Napoleon Dynamite to the prom. Remember the movie? So we start seeing high volume now on the down bars. What is that? It's buying. That's the next thing that happened. Look, I'm going to show it to you guys. I'm going to show it to you. And you guys, you're not going to like this, but it's the truth. I'm breaking this down piece by piece. We're only supposed to have a temporary move down. Temporary. I proved this many times on individual cryptos. We wait to look for the buying and local health to start emerging. Here's our foundational move. Here it is. Here is the ultra high volume down bar into health. Number 1. This was your professional buying coming in. Right there. Professional buying. If this happens in multiple places, it's accumulation. Where did they buy it? They paid here. That's where they paid. What happened the next times we were down there on the down move? Very high volume. What was this? Where was that high volume? It was, again, on the down move. What was this? Professional buying. What about the next one? We came down again. Where did the next ultra high volumes come in? It was there. Guys, look, you're not blind. You can see it for yourself. What is supposed to happen to this market? There's nothing wrong with wanting to go to prom. They wanted to go to prom here. They wanted to keep the party going, but there was just no one left, so they picked me. They picked me because they felt bad for me. I don't know. They picked me because I just wasn't. That's all that was that. You get me. That's all you get. It's like this in class. Oh, man, I wish I had a better teacher I like. But that's all you got. Okay, that's all you got. You're stuck with me. What happens is you're seeing the money change hands real time. Now there's money to play. Price built a support. Now buying came in. And this is what is called accumulation. Accumulation is when you have, pay attention guys, accumulation is you have multiple bouts of buying. This is a accumulation campaign. A simulation of accumulation. Okay, that's all that. Now, there is not an absorption of control. There is not an absorption of control. I don't see that. So it's possible one day we can have one more challenge to those areas. I don't see that zoom accumulation or control. I don't see that. But that's a story for another day for those of you guys who know. Okay, let me show you another example of what it looks like. If you move into health with accumulation or professional buying in the background, watch. Don't worry, I'm almost done. If you see that in the background on your down bar, down move, downtrend, you are looking for, if you challenge those areas again and you come down on low or no demand, in this case, it's probably some more buying. You're looking for, until there's no more retail left to sell to. You can only sell to the fools for so long. before they're like, hey, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me thrice, fool me mice. There's only so long before you can confuse Jeb Bush or President Bush. Was it? Yeah, President Bush. I'm letting you guys understand the game as best I can. Okay, if I can explain it a little better, I would. This is telling us this should be moving up, which means we're somewhere due here. You guys are talking about, yeah, we're going to have the biggest bull run in the world. What data are you guys looking at? I don't see it. If somebody sees it in the data, maybe, praise God. But professional selling, from what I've been taught, from what I know, from what I understand, from the professional teachers that taught me about the laws of supply and demand, is it has to happen on the up move, the up bars, the uptrends. Where is that happening on the up bars, up moves? As if this up move is over. No, I don't see it. In fact, I'm seeing just the opposite. And I can show you lots of examples of that professional buying on the down bars. I can show you that even on this charts. Okay. I'm letting you guys know this appears to be a large bottom. In the grand scheme of things, this is where you should go. This is why I told everybody months ago, the weather is still going that direction. You guys understand? The weather is going that direction. You're waiting for this crypto market to end, and I'm like, guys, you're probably going to want to get comfortable. You're probably going to want to sit down to hear this, and you're probably going to be here a long time. Buying should be probably one of the last things on your mind, is what I said what I said in October. There's a reason I told you I got out of everything in October. And you can call me crazy, that's fine. I don't need you guys to approve me. I just need you guys to know the warnings based on your own data. Okay? If you guys say, I don't fully understand that, I don't trust that, it's fine. That's fine. I respect that. You guys you start reading stuff on volume spread analysis if you want to. You guys can look into Gavin Holmes and Tom Williams. You can look. I'm trying to break this down with crayons and cryptos in the simplest ways so you can understand. So none of this stuff takes you by surprise. Now, when I get some of those emails, which I'm sure that I'm going to get some of those emails, because I got them after October, that people were in bad spots because they didn't take profit, or they didn't exit the market, or they weren't shorting, or they weren't whatever. And when you look at your portfolio, and your portfolio is more than 100% down, okay, not 100% down, but when your portfolio is really down, you're not going to be hurting. When we see all the things start telling us in alignment what's really occurring, it's a matter of simply stepping back and looking at the game from a perspective we haven't really looked before. We saw parabolics. We saw price sitting on top of the areas where it was supposed to sit down on perfectly. We saw all of that. None of this caught us by surprise. And it shouldn't be catching you by surprise, my friends. Okay, when we saw these kinds of things, we were looking, oh yeah, we should be going up. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. If this goes up, cryptos come down. Okay, when we drew some of these lines, I'm going to draw you one more. This foundational line area right here is pretty alignment. How many times do we touch? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of those, 4 very accurately. Of then also, pay attention. Pay attention. I'm almost done. I'm gonna make this public. Okay, I'm making this video public, and I'm not saying to toot my own horn, but to help you guys, because some of you guys are really, your expectations are very wrong. Are very high, or you're doing stuff that God did not send you to do. Okay. 1, tell me if it's wrong. 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to place it here. If I'm right, it should be verified in a strong way. It's verified in a strong way. And that means I need to take that oscillation and duplicate it to the top side. I take that a measurement, I bring it to the top side, and boom, it gives me this number in the sky. Here's the number. 1266. Are you ready for that? If it happens, are you going to be okay? We're way down here, guys. If you see this happening, are you going to be like, oh my gosh, my crypto? Are you leveraged to the bullish side? You're going to be taken out if this happens. Are you guys ready for that? I can show you the small stuff in between. Some of you guys are so leveraged because you're so bullish because of something you heard on the internet, YouTube. In the area of priority, I would do this. I always say have a reason for what you do, but in the area of priority, personally, because I know how to read and because I teach you guys how to read, fundamental is very high. Sorry, technical is very high. This is called the technical analysis. There's lots of ways to approach technical analysis. This is just one way. But it rates really high because my eyes, I'm teaching how to read you with your eyes. Number one. After that, I'm going to put some weight on fundamental analysis, which is what's going on behind the scenes. I don't really spend much time, but there's a lot of people who will say the scripture should go up because of this project or that project or this white paper or this blue paper, whatever the color of the paper is. Okay. And there's more to it than that. Of course there is. Then there's prophetic information. This could be years in the coming. This could be several years, but generally it should be relatively not super far in the future unless so otherwise declared. You guys need to understand those are the really big things in probably priority. Okay? And I just want to leave you guys with that. If that makes me a bearer of bad news, I've often been that. So over the years when it comes to the cryptocurrencies. But I need you guys to understand, I think the game is going to continue. So the people out there who are telling you, this is it. I think we almost may have a situation like in the Bible where they were leading a rebellion against Moses and Moses said, no, you're not going to enter the land. Your children are going to enter the land. And they said, no, we're ready. We're ready to go when it's time. Let's go take over the land. And Moses was like, God's not with you anymore. You're not going to go into the land. Your children will get into the land, but you're not. And they go and they try to fight and they get their butt kicked because they went when it wasn't appropriate time. And when it was time for them to go, that's when they didn't want to go. When they were supposed to be buying, they didn't want to buy. When they were supposed to be selling, they weren't selling. I think that sometimes we can start looking and seeing the game is changing. I don't want to listen to that. Okay. But here's what I'll say. To end my arrogant cockiness about this data, to end my profane sayings, to end my bearish outlook, I will say pray. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. I could be wrong. I would like you to be successful. Okay, whatever that means. I want you guys to be successful. I'd rather prophesy that Nineveh is going to be destroyed. And then God show mercy on Nineveh. And what does Jonah do? He gets mad. I knew you were going to save them because he saved them. I knew you were going to do this. It's better if I die. And he gets mad because he's not right. But God says to him, look, there's thousands of people who don't even know their right hand from the left. Should I not have mercy on them? Now, you could say, is God going to show mercy if he changes the market or doesn't change the market? Maybe. Do you need him to do, or is it better for you just to move? Remember, Abraham negotiated with God. He said, God, will you spare the land? I know you've determined that this is going to happen, such and such, to the land, Sodom and Gomorrah. But just because you've determined that, can you save them? What do you spare the city? And God negotiates with them, and he basically says, yes, I will spare the city if there was just 10 righteous people. God did something different. Instead, he moved those 10, which is really, I think, 7, because the son-in-laws didn't come. He moved them out of the city. Sometimes God can change a market, but sometimes he could just have you be obedient. Do you understand? I'll say that one more time. Sometimes God can change the circumstances, but in other times he can just protect you through it, through your simple obedience. Will we be like Lot's wife and look back? Father, we thank you for this session. We thank you for this time. I thank you for all the things you're showing us in the market, helping us to read and understand and read. Lord, if people don't believe what I say or prophesy about the market, whether through the charts or through prophetic, I pray that they would take all of these things prayerfully to themselves, to you in prayer. If the spirit does not resonate them, let them check first their flesh, and then, because people will be offended and the message will be hidden. As the scripture says, it's harder to win over an offended brother than a fortified city. But if they are offended, Lord, may they forgive me for my passion or my emotions regarding what I've seen, what I believe. Because at the end of the day, they're all the things that I believe that you have been showing us in the market. I believe these numbers are the numbers. And if they will be incorrect, because I cannot force the future to happen, then let it be. But more so, if the numbers be the numbers and they reveal what you are showing us, may we take action to protect ourselves, whatever that means for different people. For some people, they may be shorting Bitcoin. They may be shorting the market. But for some people, they just need to simply step back. For some people, they can pick up their cryptocurrencies half price or even more so. For some people, you're teaching them simple obedience. For some people, I have been assigned to their lives, or they have been assigned to mine. You've told some people specifically to follow me. They've told me many times. They said they were praying for somebody to help them teach them these things from a spiritual perspective as well as from a technical perspective. And you poured me out to them until it is such time as me to be poured out into a different community or different places and different parts of my future. I pray that I would do a good job of serving them and working hard to show them the numbers and the data. Give them peace in all things, whatever is going to happen in our futures. And let us be ready for the markets to move as we step back and look from a bird's eye view of who's winning the battle, who's losing the battle. Let us not be deceived. Let us look towards the end to understand the fullness of the game. And when the confusion occurs, as you've been showing me so much, you've been showing me how to step back into the highest time frames to view the story, to make things make sense. And you've been showing me that in lots of areas and been confirming that through your means and your sources. I thank you for what you are doing. Continue doing all of these things. Open our eyes that we would have our understanding sharpened. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you guys. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for WordRoom. And again, if you guys are watching our session, you can join us. If you have further questions, shoot me an email here, but that's our website. You can also message me right in the chat. Okay, I'll be right back, guys, for any final questions. God bless you.